kind of in that Cody Rhodes role where everything he did was manufactured and it was very put on. And I think that's what made his heel turn so nice was like after minute 2 of him just blooding Cody Rhodes, it was like, oh, this is something completely different.
Yeah.
And so I almost wouldn't. I would let Cena win his final match, but I would have Cody Rhodes being the one, if they're going to turn him heel, have him be the one taking out John Cena finally. Like, have him do just such a dastardly beatdown of such a thing where it's like, maybe even advertise that Cena's got that one date left, and that's date number 2 before he ends. Like, Cody just puts him out.
I think that's a great idea.
Last Cena appearance.
Because your real final flowers are Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah.
And undoubtedly, John Cena, in sports, we call it a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yep.
Cena's, they might put him in before he's done, right? Next year. So, it'll be interesting to say. So these are all really good predictions. What do you think happens with Heyman, Breaker? Do you think this is an evolution type thing where it's going to be the thumbs down with the clipboard with Breaker and he skyrockets to the moon as the unstoppable babyface like Batista did? Or do you think they're going to go a different direction?
I'm hoping that Brian Breaker, he gets the breakaway treatment from Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
And that whole crew. Because it seemed like here about a few months, someone's going to hold him back.
Like, how do you mean?
You know, he's going to lose the belt, and my prediction, he's probably going to lose the belt, and then he's going to lose, like, all these matches, and it's going to be like, okay, well, why about all these matches? What's going on here? It's because he's not used to being in the group.
He's going to get Sokoa'd, is what you're saying. Okay. Now, what do you think, Beast?
No, I think Breaker's going to be in that Batista role, because I think if he's just going to run around murdering people, the crowd's going to get behind that eventually, just because, I mean, they were already.
Right.
And it'll be one of those things where Seth's character is kind of like, he doesn't like sharing the spotlight.
Yeah.
So I think eventually it'll be like the I have my monster, but now my monster's taking my spotlight sort of thing. And I think it will almost be like the thing where, like, he might try to convince, like, hey, man, you should go challenge Cena for that belt, man. You should go over there.
Subversive.
Yeah. Sort of thing.
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Braun Breaker within the next 3 years is going to be the top babyface of our generation, or of the next generation.
Yep.
I think him being with Heyman, learning from Heyman, working with Seth, and rubbing up against all these people and all the history that he has in the business, he's going to become a great, undeniable heel that is going to, when he finally flips and takes out Seth, it's going to be
a huge moment.
It's going to be cosmically shifting the landscape of wrestling.
Last question, because I know we're at the buzzer. Does Roman Reigns factor into any of this year, or does he parking lot it for the rest of the year?
I think he might be coming back towards the next WrestleMania.
I think so. The parking lots for the rest of the year. What do you think?
I think the only match that's really on the table for him is the probable Roman Punk versus Rollins and Breaker tag match at some sort of pay-per-view. Other than that, there's not a whole lot he really can or needs to do.
Agreed. What do you think, Tom?
Might get a Cena match.
Yeah, I mean, give him the backseat. Give him, it's almost embarrassing how many top guys that they got that they can work. So Roman can take a backseat, just do that tag match. But I don't know. I don't know that he's ready to go away quite yet. But like Hollywood's calling this guy too.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and he did very well from what I've researched in the Hollywood circles. They liked him in that Rock movie when was it the Fast and Furious? It was
17.
Remember the first movie when they were like stealing DVD players and now they have spaceships and machine guns?
Throwing Fiero into space.
Right.
As one does. It's a natural trajectory.
Ja Rule.
All right. Well,
second part.
Everybody, thanks for joining us this week. We love you. We appreciate you. We thank you for following us. We're going to keep moving forward, keep doing big things with your help. Stay tuned because we're going to have some announcements here in the next couple weeks with big moves that we're making. Next week, let's just do it live on the air. Next week, do you guys want to stick with the modern theme, or do you want to talk about the Ultimate Warrior, or do you want to talk about Vern Gagne?
Warrior?
Warrior?
Yeah, I can get down with some Warrior.
Warrior?
Ganya.
All right.
There's always one.
There's always one. Next week, the only reason I'm talking about the Warrior is because, ironically, both Beast and I, right now, are wearing Ultimate Warrior t-shirts.
Wow.
So, next week, we will come back with the story, the triumph, the tragedy of Jim Hellwig, the Ultimate Warrior. We'll see you guys next week. Warriors!
Peace.
Save big on brunch for mom. All in the Kroger app. Buy 2, get 2 free on 12 packs of Coca-Cola, Pepsi, or 7-Up with your card. Then get flavorful medium Hass avocados for 69 cents each with a digital coupon. Shop these deals at your local Kroger, less than 5 miles away. Or tap the screen now to download the Kroger app to save big today. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Prices and product availability subject to change. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Mum's the word, but we're telling everyone. It's BOGO 50% off time at Designer Shoe Warehouse. Just in time for Mother's Day, buy any pair of shoes, get a second qualifying pair 50% off. Treat mom or yourself to the perfect spring styles from must-own brands. And hurry, unlike a mother's love, this deal won't last forever. So make mom proud and score BOGO 50% off at your DSW store or DSW.com today.
You were meant for this journey of change. So follow the Walden Wayfinder, a new way to pursue your bachelor's degree, guided every step of the way by Walden University. We help make your goals more attainable by reducing barriers to transfer credit and the Believe and Achieve scholarship that earns you tuition-free courses as you learn. You have an impact to make. Learn more at waldenu.edu/wayfinder. Walden University. Set a course for change. Certified to operate by Chev.
You'd never run a car in your living room, right? So it only makes sense that you'd never run a portable generator inside your house either. Like cars, portable generators give off carbon monoxide, a poisonous, odorless, colorless, deadly gas. So never ever run a portable generator indoors or even in any partially enclosed space, including basements, crawl spaces, garages, or outside a window, even if you use fans or open doors and windows. And keep your car out of the living room. A safety message from the Portable Generator Manufacturers Association and its members.
Is there someone you know that's making a positive difference in the community? Nominate them for the CME Star Citizen Award, presented by CME Federal Credit Union and WCOL. Deserving individuals will be chosen and awarded. Nominate your Star Citizen today at WCOL.com/star.
Some things you just have to experience live. Like spring meet at Churchill Downs, where amazing moments come a half mile a minute. Experience Downs After Dark, where night comes to life on May 17th and June 21st. Twilight Thursdays, where happy hour rides into the sunset through June 26th. And Family Adventure Day, where memories stack up on June 8th. This spring meet, the race exhilarates. So live in the moment and get your tickets today at churchilldowns.com.
Missions to Mars, driverless cars, AI chatbots. Feels like we're already living in the future. Robinhood is built for the future of trading. Robinhood's intuitive design makes trading seamless so you can spot opportunities and take control of your trades. You can now even trade stocks and crypto all in one place. Sign up for a Robinhood account today. Investing is risky. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, is a registered broker-dealer. Trading during extended hours involves additional risks. Cryptocurrency services are offered through an account with Robinhood Crypto LLC, NMLS ID 1702840. Robinhood Crypto is licensed to engage in virtual currency business activity by the New York State Department of Financial Services.
Ever wanted to stay on vacation longer? Us too. With Vrbo's long stay discounts, you can stay longer and save more on select properties. Gotta love a win-win. Book the perfect summer getaway today with Vrbo Private Vacation Rentals. Your future self will thank you later.
I want to learn how to cook, but I keep ordering takeout.
Accomplishing goals is hard, but when your goal is to learn a new language, Babbel makes it easy. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel will help you start having conversations in as little as 3 weeks. Words and phrases you'll actually use. So when someone asks, "How's your French going?" you can say,
Babbel facilite grandement l'apprentissage d'une nouvelle langue.
Now save up to 50% on your Babbel subscription at Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, let's talk ED, because millions of men experience it. But not everyone can access or afford treatments like Viagra. HIMS can help. Through HIMS.com, you can access a full range of treatment options for ED through a 100% online process. To start your free online visit and save up to 95%, go to hims.com/joy. HIMS.com/JOY.
Saving money on your next outdoor project at Menards. Easily transport mulch, stone, and other materials with a Masterforce heavy-duty steel wheelbarrow. Maneuver over any terrain with a 16-inch tire that never goes flat. Saving money on this and all other Masterforce tools. Exclusively at Menards. Visit us in-store and at Menards.com and see all the great deals going on now in our weekly flyer.
Save big money at Menards.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out. Consult a doctor prior to use.
Wow, you look amazing. What have you been doing?
I'm sure you've heard of Ozempic, Wegovy, and the other GLP-1 medications, right? Well, I found this great company called Zelfie. If you qualify, their providers can prescribe medications like Ozempic and Wegovy and other GLP-1 medications that are 80 to 90% less expensive, all 100% online.
I can get GLP-1 medications for 80 to 90% less and do it all online? No doctor's office or pharmacy?
Yes, Zelfie can provide semaglutide or tirzepatide, the active ingredients in Ozempic and other expensive GLP-1s, but for 80 to 90% less and shipped directly to your door.
How do I get started with Zelfie?
Just send them a text.
Text PLAN to 200-300 to get started today with Zelfie. Get the same active ingredients in Wegovy or Ozempic, but for 80 to 90% less and 100% online. Don't wait. Text PLAN to 200-300 right now for a link to your exclusive offer. Text PLAN to 200-300. That's PLAN to 200-300. PLAN to 200-300.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, let's talk ED because millions of men experience it, but not everyone can access or afford treatments like Viagra. Hims can help. Through hims.com, you can access a full range of treatment options for ED through a 100% online process. To start your free online visit and save up to 95%, go to hims.com/joy. HIMS.com/JOY.
Count on Kohl's for those special gifts Mom deserves this Mother's Day. Inspire her inner chef with must-haves for her kitchen, wellness essentials for her fitness routine, and jewelry for her perfect night out. Plus, you can save 15% on some of your finds and earn Kohl's Cash. Find Mom's perfect gift in time for Mother's Day at Kohl's and Kohl's.com. Select styles. Offer valid through May 11th. Kohl's Cash and coupons do not apply to Sephora. Exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for more details.
Coming to you live from the Superbook Sports Studios in Kettering. You're listening to Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Of years at head coach, he's not in any way in jeopardy of that. But I think, everybody obviously major headlines with the Luka trade, and rightly so, and what a great player and building for the future, but you gave up Anthony Davis, and you sure could have used an Anthony Davis big last night, and that reared its ugly head. And he'll be 41 next year when he's playing most of his season, and he doesn't play defense like he used to consistently. Still great player, but they need to get some defensive help.
All right, Kurt. Well, let's stay there and go to the Luka of it all, right? We have this massive trade that's super celebrated when it happened. The way that the season ended, there's not quite as much optimism at this moment as there was then. But what do you get is the sense of what the Lakers feel with Luka? Do they think that they can build around him as the championship caliber guy of the future? Or is there a sense that maybe some of the question marks that we were hearing in Dallas might have followed him to L.A.?
I think that's a small bit of talk. Everybody, it's raw right today. It's the day after. So everybody's like, whoa. I thought Luka was going to carry us, to the promised land. And I don't say us, that's Laker fans. Carry them to the promised land like he did with Dallas a year ago. To answer your question, it is still very much that feeling. It is very much Luka's just turned 26. He is the future. It's his team. It's not LeBron's team. They have him for sure for one more year. He can opt out after that and go anywhere. But with the NBA and the marketing and a global figure that he is, they're going to build around him. He needs to be better defensively. When he tweaked his back yesterday, that was kind of a freakish play, but it certainly affected him defensively for a guy who's not an A-plus defensive player. They lack size. And they knew that going in. And, Rudy Gobert exposed him last night. And That's what they need to fix. But having 26-year-old Luka Doncic do what he can do, I'll tell you, when you combine the two, to me, the story of the offseason right now is how Jackson Hayes was such an integral part of the rotation.
Mm-hmm.
Big kid from Texas, good rebounder, and did not play a minute. I mean, what are they going to package to go get a big guy? And they tried to trade Dalton Knecht, SEC Player of the Year last year. He didn't play at all down the stretch. Those are two guys that are certainly going to be on the trading block, and they've got to make some moves. It is completely unacceptable in this town for a Laker team to be eliminated in the first round of the playoffs with LeBron James and Luka Doncic.
Something that has happened to LeBron before. Kurt Sandoval, ABC 7, joining us here on Amber and Ian. Andre Snelling's filling in for Ian tonight. If they get a big, is JJ going to play him, Kurt? I did not understand the decision to not put in Hayes. I could not understand what was happening last night with that.
It's one of those things, you guys, covering this. You can be at every game, and I'm at most every game. They're not going to tell you, and you just got to ask around if something happened. 2 + 2 does not equal 4 there. And it was the biggest head scratcher I've ever seen. Now, saying that, I will say, I don't want to say I told you so, but I was the one guy on one of your shows 2 weeks ago when this thing started, and I said, I really think the Clippers have a better chance of going farther than the Lakers. Not because the Clippers were a better team than the Lakers. They're very even, very different. But the matchup, Minnesota and Ant-Man, I mean, that kid is amazing. And with Gobert, they just exposed the Lakers defensively, and they exposed their lack of height. And say what you will. I loved your first question about JJ. JJ I think is going to be a very good coach. And I think he did an A-, B+ job. But he got exposed in the playoffs. And Chris Finch exposed him, and he got outcoached. And that was part of the equation. And let's call it what it is. The Lakers knew that going in. They gave a guy who's never coached at any level the reins, and he did a marvelous job. But it's a different beast going into the playoffs.
Absolutely. So we've talked to you about JJ. We've talked to you about Luka. We got to talk about the third point on the triangle, right? LeBron, after the game last night, when asked about his future, he was non-committal. And I didn't read into that. So as I watched, I thought this is just kind of how he is at the end of the seasons, right? Mm-hmm. But there are those that say, hey, it's not, kind of like you said, it's not his team anymore. Now it's Luka's team. Are we sure that LeBron is coming back? So is there any sense at all out in your neck of the woods that this could be the end of LeBron in the NBA?
I would say this is Kurt Sandoval speaking, absolutely no doubt in my mind he's coming back, and I'll tell you why. I was in Denver last year when they got eliminated by the Nuggets, and he said the exact same thing. And it's baloney. That's what LeBron does. He leaves it open-ended. Number 2, his son is still a Laker and is on a 2-year contract. There is no way that LeBron James is waiving a no-trade clause unless his son is part of some type of trade. And 3, which I think is the biggest issue, LeBron is also a girl dad, and he loves his daughter, and he makes, he's all about the backside of LeBron's career is not basketball. It's movie making and film and commercials and documentaries and all that. He's in Los Angeles. That is a $1 billion decision. Would he go somewhere else? I'd be more stunned by that than the fact that they didn't play Jackson Hayes last night.
That's saying something. Kurt Sandoval joining us. Before we cut you loose, Kurt, because I know you're covering the game tonight for Nuggets Clippers. Let me get a thought from you on Game 6 for the Clippers here. 10 p.m. Eastern tip-off. The coverage begins right here on ESPN Radio at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. But Denver's up in this series, Kurt, and a lot of people didn't necessarily see that coming with the hype train that was around the Clippers of late.
Yeah, I'll be honest. It's been a fabulous series, and the Clippers could have been easily up 2-0, and you can't play would have, could have, should have, right? The Lakers could say the same thing. Every playoff series can say the same thing. But Ty Lue's about to speak to us in just a couple minutes, and what he said after the game is, I'm sure he's going to say today, you got to make shots. And when Nikola Jokic only had like 13 points in the last game, but Jamal Murray goes off for 42, they made shots. And that's what the Clippers, they have. I think they have more depth. It's how they're going to stop Nikola Jokic. You know, that two-headed monster of Nikola and Jamal. And so that's, to me, I really think it's, I don't want to sound like a homer here, but I really do think it's going to go 7 games. I really do.
Well, it has been a heck of a series so far. We're excited to see more of it tonight. Kurt Sandoval, he will be there for ABC 7 in Los Angeles. Thanks, Kurt. We appreciate it.
My pleasure, you guys. I appreciate you having me. The background was a little crazy. I'm under the stadium here because at the Intuit Dome, it's like a rock concert when they do the warm-ups here.
Oh, we get it. We get it. Thanks for making room for us and making it work.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Coming up next here on Amber and Ian with Andre Snellings filling in for Ian tonight. We're going to dig deeper into the future of LeBron James. Do we read into anything of his lack of commitment? Kurt did not think so. Let's get Andre's thoughts next. Coming up here on ESPN Radio.
The NBA playoffs on ESPN Radio.
Gilgeous-Alexander open three. Bang, he got it.
From the play-in tournaments,
it really just felt like we had a second chance
until a champion is crowned at the NBA Finals.
If you don't think we are headed for an amazing spring, I can't help you.
Welcome to the NBA playoffs. Anything can happen.
On ESPN Radio and on ESPN.
You promised.
I took the garbage out.
No, I'm talking about all the work we need to get done around here.
I know. We need a new roof and we need replacement windows.
How about a new bathroom and some overdue remodeling?
And how are we supposed to pay for all that?
My sister said she called Remodeling Loans and they were able to find her certified contractors.
That's great. But how'd she get the money to pay for all that?
Remodeling Loans offered 0 interest for 60 months. They even have payment plans with 0 down and 0 deposit.
Looks like we're getting a home makeover.
Great. Now, if I only knew someone to call for a husband makeover.
Really?
Remodeling Loans is the #1 leader in home improvement financing. Call 800-921-1403 today for a no credit check, no risk approval. Get approved today and we'll match you with the best contractors in your area. And remember, no deposit financing is now available. Call 800-921-1403. 800-921-1403.
Hi, it's Mike Greenberg letting you know to stay tuned at 3 o'clock later today for the Justin Kinner Show. You can also stream the show live at WINGAM.com.
At Draft Choice Options, a guy right there is a gold bar in front of you where you can literally build a team around him in Cleveland, and you're playing the futures game. That's the problem I had with the Cleveland Browns passing up on Travis Hunter.
Check out more from Freddie and Harry weekdays at 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Hey, it's Evan Cohen coming up Friday. Will the Knicks close out Detroit, or will the Pistons force a Game 7 on Saturday night? It's on Sportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
This is Daryl from Columbus, previously from the Paul Finebaum Show.
You go with your wife or she leave you?
No, she's never leaving me, buddy. Hey, I go back to work Monday. I'm going for a whole month. I'll be gone for a whole month. She can do whatever she wants.
You ever thought that the reason she stays with you is you're never there?
I know how.
The Paul Finebaum Show, weekdays at 3 Eastern on the ESPN app and on the SEC Network.
What's up, kiddos? Clinton Yates here, and coming up on Friday, we'll react to 2 pivotal Game 6s in the association and get you ready for the weekend and continue to discuss the fallout in Lakerland. That's Friday on Clinton and Friends at 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN Radio. It's a showdown in the ATL.
Shohei Ohtani wasting no time.
Shohei Ohtani and the Los Angeles Dodgers begin a 10-game road trip in Atlanta against Marcell Ozuna and the Braves.
Fly ball down the left field line. Ozuna does it again.
The Dodgers
Mariners at the Braves on Sunday Night Baseball. Coverage begins at 6 Eastern, with first pitch at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN. NBA update.
Right now in Game 6, New York is up on Detroit. In Detroit, 44-36. There's about 8 minutes left in the second quarter. So the Knicks have been on top all game long so far. They came out hot. They came to play, trying to stave off Detroit. Obviously, Detroit's not going away either. So we'll continue to keep you updated on the live action throughout the evening here on Amber and Ian. Andre Snellings is in for Ian tonight. He's hanging out with me. We are presented to you by Progressive Insurance. We've been reacting to the Lakers getting bounced in the first round yet again of the NBA playoffs. And there's going to be some fallout, obviously, that comes from this. Before we move on to the future of the Lakers, though, let's talk a little bit about the future of LeBron, right? Because everything is tied to that. Here was LeBron James, Andre, the Lakers forward, on how much longer he plans to play last night.
How many more years will we see you play?
I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. Something I sit down with my family, my wife, and my support group and kind of just talk through it and see what happens. And then just have a conversation with myself on how long I want to continue to play. I don't know the answer to that right now, to be honest. So we'll see.
Do you believe he doesn't know the answer to that?
Not really. So as I was just asking Kurt, I did not read anything into what LeBron said last night. I feel like that's the standard thing he says at the end of the season. If anything, kind of like we saw with J.J. Redick, it could have been a little bit of a jab at Luka that like, hey, there's a chance that I could leave. So if you want to try to build a championship squad with me here, I'm going to need you to lock in and come in as cut up Luka to start next season. But outside of that, I would be shocked if he walked away for some of the reasons that Kurt laid out, though Kurt didn't really say he wouldn't retire. He said he wouldn't leave L.A. because, you know, the girl dad and the $1 billion decision, all those things. But I note that LeBron has another child, right? You know, we know about Bronny's on the team with him, and he's got his daughter. But he also has another son, Bryce, whose team just won the state championship and who potentially could be joining the league himself in a couple years. Right. So I wouldn't be surprised if nothing else, LeBron might want to stick around to see if he could get Bryce into the league the way that he did Bronny.
Oh, wait, hold on. You have LeBron sticking. I mean, we're not going to head towards a world where LeBron James is going to become the first dad to play with both of his kids, right?
We're absolutely. Have you met LeBron's image? You know, like do you think if Bryce can make the NBA, then LeBron is going to walk away the year before he comes into the league?
So is it the year before? Is he coming in? How old is Bryce?
I believe Bryce was a senior this year, so I think he's already committed to. Is it Arizona? He's committed to a school next year.
And he's the one that's supposed to be even better than Bronny, right? Because his size, he's a lot bigger than Bronny.
So potentially, it was like Bronny was the better player, but Bryce had the better size. So if his game grows into his size, then yeah, Bryce has higher upside.
Okay, so we're talking one more year where Bryce would be in college for a year, and then if he's a one and done, then it was Arizona, by the way. If he's a one and done out of Arizona, then he'll get drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers when LeBron forces her hand.
Pretty much. I mean,
but what's funny about that's also when Bronny's deal expires with the Lakers, right? Yeah. So like he'll just trade one kid off for another.
I mean, so I think about, there was this TV show called Billions, right?
Yeah.
And I remember the main character who was a billionaire saying essentially, what's the point of having FU money if you can't say FU? That's kind of where LeBron is. Like, what's the point of being LeBron if you can't say you gonna draft my kids, and if LeBron stays for Bryce, he gonna make sure Bronny is there too. He ain't letting them cut him. Are you serious?
He's gonna need to work on getting his daughter into the WNBA. It must be nice to have that kind of power.
Absolutely.
I agree with you that I do not think anything whatsoever of his comment last night, because I swear I've been hearing that same thing for 5 years with LeBron at the end of every season whenever he gets bounced. It's just the cupcake I haven't thought about it answer. And I also am with you. I do not think that there is any chance that LeBron James has not thought about when he's actually going to leave this game. And whether that plan is after Bryce gets into the league or in another year or in 5 more years, whenever the hell it is, that man knows. That man absolutely has a timeline in his head that I think has been thought about and planned out and probably circled in with his PR team and everything else so that they get their tour. I can't imagine a world where LeBron would retire this year without the pomp and circumstance also of doing the farewell season, because LeBron does love himself some spotlight. And I do think that LeBron would want
you have met LeBron's image before.
I think LeBron would want that moment in the sun to go around the league to all the games and everybody be cheering him on and us give him the farewell that frankly he deserves as one of the greatest players who has ever lived.
Yeah, and, when asked it last night, LeBron said, no, Luka being here doesn't in any way change my decision or, re-energize me because I always play hard. That's another one I was like, blue cap on that. Like you can't tell me that the possibility of Luka being there and them having a championship window now that they didn't have with Anthony Davis, if there's a realistic chance that the Lakers can build a contender in the next 2 seasons, I just can't see LeBron walking away from a chance to get more hardware.
So that's a big if. And now we need to have a conversation about what they would have to do. And one of the first places that my mind went is, well, they're going to need to move Austin Reeves. Now, Austin Reeves had a very rough series. He admitted it. Obviously, a spectacular season from Austin Reeves. And then a rough series against the Timberwolves, although certainly not all on him. The Timberwolves were a bad matchup for that team. Dave McMenamin, though, the ESPN NBA reporter, has said that he doesn't think that there's any chance that they're moving on from Austin. Take a listen.
Expectations will be, as I mentioned, Rob Pelinka finding some help at the center position for this team. Pelinka said he thinks it's going to be a offseason that's rife with a ton of player movement around the league. But one name that Lakers fans should not anticipate moving from LA is Austin Reeves. Austin told us last night that he didn't play up to his standard in the first round against the Wolves, but Rob Pelinka said he has total faith in Austin, Luka, and LeBron as the pillars of this organization moving forward. So don't be looking for the Lakers to upgrade necessarily at a star position by using Austin Reeves. It's about more finding the right role players around those 3.
See, the reason that I was thinking that they'd move on from Austin Reeves is because he is the chip that they have to trade. And and he, right now, I would imagine, has a pretty high value around the league.
Yeah, and I feel that. We heard Kurt just say that he just used Dalton Connect as the player that he thinks that the Lakers will dangle. And I think maybe it's a question of how good of a player or players do the Lakers feel like they need to be able to get to the championship level. And so we've seen with the Mavericks these last few years kind of the blueprint of how you build around Luka Doncic, right? Like we know the 2 athletic big men. They can be finishers around the rim on offense. They can finish Luka's alley-oops, and they can be rim protectors and help the defenders behind Luka on defense. So the Lakers know they'll need that. But in Dallas, the second offensive option was always a point guard. It was Kyrie Irving, or before that, it was Jalen Brunson, even though, he didn't have the big name then. But in L.A., assuming LeBron comes back, it's 6'9", 260-pound LeBron James. So you maybe don't have to, next to the athletic big men, maybe you don't need the P.J. Washington-type power forward. And maybe because both Luka and LeBron are such great distributors, you don't need a pure point guard either. Maybe your other guys can just be shooters and or defenders. And if that's the case, maybe they think that we're close enough. We just need some role player big men that are athletic, and we might not have to give up Austin if we're going to aim at that level.
Yeah, nobody disagrees that they need size. That certainly is target number A. That is the first thing that Rob Pelinka already needs to be doing that. That phone already needed to be working today.
Earned that extension.
And they only got bounced yesterday. You mentioned the blueprint in Dallas. Is that's the really good job that Rob Pelinka, or that Nico Harrison rather, was referencing that he's done?
I mean, he got him to the finals last year. You know, he was doing a great job until he traded him for not market value.
Although I wonder if today maybe that doesn't look quite as crazy as it once did. We'll see what it looks like moving forward. Coming up next here on Amber and Ian, Andre Snelling's in the Lakers. They moved on. Oh, actually, you know what? Big deal, not a big deal. That's what we're doing next. My B. Plenty more coming up on ESPN Radio.
Hey, it's Michelle Smallman, and coming up Friday, everyone knows Jason Tatum is my favorite player. But can Anthony Edwards become the face of the league without making the finals? We'll talk about it on Sportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Every 40 seconds, a child is reported missing. That's 2,000 children every single day. It's a heart-wrenching reality that we can no longer ignore. Find the Children is a non-profit organization dedicated to helping find missing kids. You can be a part of their mission by donating your unwanted vehicle, running or not. Call 1-800-294-0222. We guarantee that you will receive the maximum tax deduction. We provide fast, free pickup with 24-hour response. Call 1-800-294-0222. Find the Children provides crucial resources to help find missing children and educational materials to teach kids how to recognize and avoid predators. Our recovery programs have a proven track record of reuniting kids with their families. It's time to act. Donate your unwanted or unused car. Help us build a world where every child is safe. Pick up the phone and call 1-800-294-0222. Together, we can bring these kids home safely. This advertisement was paid for in partnership with Cars R Us and Find the Children.
If you're a sports fan in the Miami Valley, make sure you subscribe to Dayton's ESPN Radio YouTube channel. Buckeyes, Browns, Bengals, local high school sports, Dayton Flyers, Wright State Raiders, and more. Search ESPN Dayton on YouTube and subscribe today.
Yeah, the NBA playoffs are here, and it's about to be ridiculous, unbelievable, unfair, downright nasty, straight up, can't miss, don't blink, grab your popcorn and strap in cinema. This isn't about who's next. This is about who's now. This time, it's different. The NBA playoffs, presented by Google. Continue on ESPN and ABC.
The NBA playoffs on ESPN Radio. The Nuggets move one step closer.
2-on-1. Murray the fake and the drive for the one-handed jam.
The Denver Nuggets win their second straight and take a 3-2 lead over the Clippers. Now we return to LA where the Clippers face a must-win. Will they survive? Game 6 of the Nuggets and Clippers. Coverage begins tonight at 9:30 Eastern with tip-off at 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app. Presented by Indeed.
The Stanley Cup playoffs. Man, your nerves might be shot, and you might be screaming your lungs out, and you might be clinging to hope, and it might be tarps off time, and the guy next to you might be your new best friend, and you might be dreaming about the cup, and you might be completely lost for words, but that's what it's all about. That's hockey. The Stanley Cup playoffs continue on ESPN.
Hey, it's Evan Cohen coming up Friday. Will the Knicks close out Detroit or will the Pistons force a Game 7 on Saturday night? It's on Sportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU. On Nick DeLuca, Game 6 in Detroit. Knicks with a chance to close out the Pistons again, trying to win a playoff series for a third straight season. Jalen Brunson held to 16 points in Game 5, his fewest in a playoff game as a Knick. He's got 18 already in the first half. The Knicks lead by 4, 55-51. 2:08 remaining in the opening half. Brunson 8 of 13 from the field, has 4 assists. One of 3 Knicks in double figures already. OG Anunoby has 13. Mikal Bridges up to 10 points tonight. Cade Cunningham has a team-high 9 points among starters for the Pistons. Malik Beasley has 15 off the bench. He is 5 of 9 from 3. Pistons minus 1.5 on ESPN Bet coming in. Clippers and Nuggets round out the night with a Game 6. Denver can move on to the second round with a win. Clippers favored by 6.5 on ESPN Bet. Trying to stave off elimination. Coverage begins at 9:30 Eastern here on ESPN Radio. In the NHL, Game 6 in Minnesota. Golden Knights and Wild Vegas can take the series with a win, tied at 1 after 1. Shea Theodore opening the scoring for Vegas on the power play, his second of the series. Ryan Hartman tying it up. Shots 12-8 in favor of the Wild. Game on ESPN TV. Vegas minus 160 live on ESPN Bet. In baseball, Blue Jays walked off the Red Sox yesterday. An extras series finale tonight. Sox on top 2-0 in the third. Hey, it's Evan Cohen coming up Friday. Another first-round exit for the Lakers. I'll tell you what they'll need to do this offseason to have better results next year. It's on Sportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
We've done a lot of NBA so far here on Amber and Ian because Andre Snellings is in the house, our senior NBA writer. He's hanging out. He's filling in for Ian tonight. We're presented to you by Progressive Insurance. You can find Andre Snellings at Professor DRZ because the man is a doctor. You can find me at Amber W Sports, even though I also technically have a doctorate. Let's find out together what's a big deal and what's not a big deal.
It's making headlines.
Extra, read all about it.
But is it a big deal or not a big deal? With Amber and Ian.
And our producer tonight, Stosh. Hello, Stosh.
Hello. By the way, I'm not a doctor, but I do play one on the radio sometimes.
Well, there you go. That's what we're doing too now with our doctorate degrees. So we're all in the same place.
Nice. Well, let's get it started, and we'll start with Amber on this one. Big offseason coming up for the Phoenix Suns. They need a new head coach. What do they do with Kevin Durant? And today made a very interesting decision. They promoted Brian Gregory to the role of general manager, replacing James Jones, who's moving into an advisory role with the Suns. Amber, big deal or not a big deal?
It's only a big deal if there's actually a way out of the mess that the Phoenix Suns are in. And the problem is what Brian Gregory is tasked with now is a team that is so far and away above the second apron and into the luxury tax that his only way out of this thing is moving on from not pieces that either have no trade clauses and are impossible to move, or from key pieces that were supposed to be the centerpieces of your franchise. So it's a big deal, this move, but I don't know if there's a reason for me to believe that Brian Gregory is going to be so much better at it than even James Jones. This predicament, to me, Andre, hasn't felt like the masterworks here of Heat great James Jones. It has felt like the ownership, and that dude's still above Brian Gregory as well.
That is where I was going. It's like, I don't know whether to call it a big deal or not, because it's a big deal because James Jones was really good at this job, right? He was like the executive of the year not that long ago. But when Ishbia came in as the owner, it seemed like he wanted to make his mark. It felt like those moves were his choice and not James Jones. And if that's the case and he's still there kind of calling the shots behind the scenes, it really doesn't matter who you call the general manager or the president. Just like it didn't matter who the Dallas Cowboys said was the general manager. We all knew everything was going through Jerry Jones.
Stosh.
Next. We'll start with Dre on this one. If you recall, John Halliburton, father of Pacers star Tyrese, got into a heated confrontation with Giannis Antetokounmpo following Game 5's elimination. spurred by what Giannis called a disrespectful exchange on the floor. Today, we learned that after conversations with the Pacers front office, John Halliburton will not attend Pacers home or road games, quote, for the foreseeable future. The decision made by the Pacers front office, John Halliburton was understanding and accepted the decision. Dre, big deal, not a big deal.
It's a big deal in the sense that something had to happen. Like, there was no way after the way that situation went down that he could just kind of come back and be courtside in the next round like nothing happened. He had to not be seen moving forward. If he's going to watch the game, he's got to be up in the booth. So I don't think it's a big deal for the players on the court, but Tyrese Halliburton is an important player in the league. They couldn't just do his father really dirty without potentially offending him. So this feels like a good compromise. The man can still watch the game, just not from the court. He lost that privilege.
Yeah, well, he's losing the privilege of being on the floor. And listen, that was a massive privilege that I think he forgot was, in fact, a privilege, which is the key word here, that you are not just mandated to be there because you're the son of Tyrese Halliburton. And obviously he forgot that there's a difference there between him being the father of Tyrese and him being Tyrese. Yep. And he's not Tyrese. So he can't just run on the court. But to obviate the entire situation, you take him out of that situation. I would say the component of this that is not a big deal is the language, though, foreseeable future. What does that mean? If we were at the beginning of the season and they were saying this is the change for the rest of the season, that would be one thing. I have a feeling this is just the change right now in the postseason. And maybe it'll be for the rest of the postseason, although that's going to get a lot more difficult if they go to an NBA Finals. But maybe this is just for the rest of this postseason. I think he'll be quietly back there probably next regular season.
Yep. Read until they feel like it blew over.
Yes, exactly.
All right, it's time to get serious. We need to have serious conversation here about fandom.
Okay.
Last night, apparently, everybody went on Amber for her hockey allegiances.
They did do that.
We'll let her expand on that in a moment. But apparently also former big league outfielder Jason Worth was on a podcast, the BSBLR podcast to be exact, talking about the idea of New Yorkers not being able to root for both the Yankees and the Mets. And here's some of that audio.
If you live in New York, you have a choice. All right, you have an obvious choice. You can either be a fan of one of the most storied franchises, one of the greatest franchises in sports history, in the history of all sports, or the Mets. I just have no respect for people that pick the Mets. I have zero respect for you. You have they say, oh my whatever, this and that, all these excuses like that. You can be a Yankees fan. Don't give me that.
Now, I wonder if, like, New Yorkers and maybe Cardi would have an opinion on this. Like, can you be a fan of one and then switch to another?
There were definitely a lot. No, you can't. I hate that. I hate that argument with every.
You started to justify.
No.
You started to go down a path.
There are frauds out there who switch back and forth depending on who's good. But no, I can't stand the people that are like, oh, I root for both New York. I root for New York. No, that's garbage. Like, pick one. You pick one when you're like 4 years old and you live with it until you die. There's no going back.
Don't. So this is my thing, because this came up on last night's show as well when it came to the Lightning and the Panthers series. And clearly right now I am a massive Panthers fan because the Panthers moved on. They eliminate the Lightning yesterday, and they look like the best team poised to win another Stanley Cup here off of winning the Stanley Cup last season. So I'm a Panthers fan. But I've dabbled, Andre, because I grew up in the Tampa Bay area, and I'm living back now in the Tampa Bay area, but I spent 15 years in South Florida on local Miami, television and radio, and I covered the Panthers. So I kind of have an effect. I know actually more about the Panthers, frankly, than the Lightning, but living over here, I've been to quite a few Lightning games. So in my closet, I got hats for both, right?
Yeah,
I got shirts for both.
And that's the question I want to ask here. Big deal or not a big deal? Like changing sports allegiances. Big deal, not a big deal.
So I'm probably the wrong person to ask, because some people are like, no, pitchfork. But I kind of agree with Amber on this in the sense that if your life circumstances change, then it kind of is what it is. Like, I hated Duke's basketball team for much of my childhood. And then I went to Georgia Tech, which is another ACC school. Duke was the enemy.
Right.
And then I worked there for 6 years, and I postdoc there. My son was born at Duke Hospital. I don't hate them anymore. Now if they win a championship, I'm not pulling for them against Georgia Tech. But if they win a championship, I feel like my team kind of won because my life circumstances changed so that now I have some allegiance.
Yeah, age, I think, frankly, does a little bit of that anyways to you. But I had the exact same experience because I am a diehard through and through, bleed orange and blue Florida Gator. And that's where I went for undergrad. But also, I had grown up going to Gator football games with my dad and my brother from the time before I could walk. And everybody in my family went to Florida. So we're diehards, right? Yeah. But then I ended up going to Miami for law school years later. After I graduated from undergrad, I was in TV for years, then went to law school. So I hated Miami for so long, but then I went and I got my Juris Doctor from Miami, and I softened
Not
over
a
the years.
true Gator then. All right.
Hey,
you're not a real Gator then. You would. I love Ohio State. I'd never go to Michigan.
Calm down. I never said that I would ever root for the Canes. Like, there is zero part of me that ever roots for the Canes against the Gators. Like, that would never happen. But I don't have the visceral hate that I once had for the Canes.
But your degree has the U on it, so it's...
I also have another one that has the UF on it as well, Cardi.
Well, see, I need to know if Playboy, knows about my history enough that was a jab.
do. No, I know.
Okay?
I'm aware. Don't worry, Dre. I got you.
I grew up in Ohio. I didn't bring it up because I was like, this will...
I thought you would.
Anger everyone enough that they might just cut the show off. But I'm born and raised in Ohio. My family was, I had two cousins play football for Ohio State. Like, my first memories, you're a Miami person, my first memories were going to Ohio State's football games to watch Keith Byers, who was like a local player, play at Ohio State.
But then you
I went to grad school at the University of Michigan, and I competed. I was still running track, so I have a varsity letter from the University of Michigan. Both of my daughters were born at University of Michigan Hospital, so it's like things have to change to some extent. Like, I can't hate maize and blue; they're part of me now.
I think what we've learned here, guys, is that if you're really, really smart,
your sports allegiances get effed up.
Change of life situations has nothing to do with this, Dre.
It really does.
I moved here from Missouri. Shout out Noah Cameron. I grew up a Royals fan, and people just assume, so I suppose you're a Yankee fan now that you live up that way. And I'm like, God, no.
Well, but it's a little different, though, because when I ran for Michigan, my teammates knew I was from Ohio. And they'd be like, they call me GT because I went to Georgia Tech. They'd be like, GT, you can't be pulling for the Buckeyes while you're wearing the maize and blue. And that's true. I cannot be pulling for Ohio State while I'm literally running for Michigan. But I was an Ohio State fan my entire life. I'm not going to suddenly hate them either. Like, it is what it is.
You should have quit the team and dropped out and be a real fan.
I think that is an exception. I think that there's a lot of people that do this, that grow up like how I did about the Gators, like die hard your whole life, and then end up going to a different college, which was not my experience. But I think there's people that do that, and then what the heck do you do?
Right.
And then you're in this weird situation. Like, one of our co-hosts here, Jonathan Zaslow, he was in that situation where he grew up his whole life a Canes fan, and I'm always ragging on him because he went to Florida with me. And now he's like, when the Gators won the Natty in basketball, he's like, I'm a Gator. I'm like, bro, our entire lives that you have been rooting for the Canes. Like, don't even try to come over here and claim this now, even though your degree says University of Florida. So when is it appropriate to change fan allegiances? We're going to open up the phone lines to you, America. 888-729-3776. Is there ever an excuse to switch your allegiance in sports?
The NBA playoffs on ESPN Radio.
Gilgeous Alexander open three. Bang, he got it.
From the play-in tournament,
It really just felt like we had a second chance.
until a champion is crowned at the NBA Finals.
You don't think we are headed for an amazing spring? I can't help you.
Welcome to the NBA playoffs. Anything can happen.
On ESPN Radio and on ESPN.
Hi, it's Keith Byers. Tax season is here, and I'm sure you're thinking about who's going to do my taxes. Try my friends at Arrowhead Tax Service in New Carlisle. Call Michael today at 937-543-5770. They're ready to serve you at 113 West Jefferson Street in New Carlisle. Arrowhead Tax Service gives back to the community through athletics and nonprofits. And all new clients save 10% off. Online at arrowheadtaxservice.com, where their target is your satisfaction.
and the SEC Network.
NBA Update.
Pistons are up on the Knicks now, 61-59. The Knicks had they were leading for most of this game in Detroit. The Pistons clawed their way back, so it is a game now in Detroit for Game 6. For the Knicks, you've got 20 out of Jalen Brunson so far, 2 rebounds, 4 assists. I'd say he's feeling just fine. We were a little worried about it coming off of the last game, coming off of Game 5 and the weirdness, Andre, and when he went out and he had obviously the injury and then trying to come back in at the end of the game, and then that was a whole weird situation. Doesn't make it back, and he seems like he's A-okay if he's putting up 20 in this thing, but this is still a hard-fought battle for the Knicks.
Absolutely. You know, Jalen's ankle is obviously wrapped super tight tonight, so he's feeling good. I am still keeping an eye on Josh Hart. For a long time, he had like no points and 1 rebound. Like he since grabbed a few. Maybe it took a little bit for him to warm up, but he doesn't quite seem like himself. And suddenly the Knicks have to play at their best because the Pistons ain't giving it to him.
Yeah, Hart was also injured in Game 5. He's put up 4 points so far tonight. From the Pistons, you've gotten 18 from Malik Beasley so far. We'll continue to keep you updated on the live action here on Amber and Ian. Andre Snellings is filling in for Ian tonight. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. It's easy to bundle your home and car insurance at Progressive.com. We're opening up the phone lines to you, 888-SAY-ESPN. We got into a conversation about, is it ever okay to change allegiances in sports? And really the conversation started last night because they were going in on me and making fun of me because I have both Florida Panthers and Lightning gear, which is sacrilege because, of course, those two hockey organizations are rivals. The Panthers knocked off the Lightning last night. Panthers advancing. Obviously, they won the Stanley Cup last season. Clearly, right now, I'm claiming the Panthers. There might be other years I claim the Lightning. And my excuse is I didn't grow up a hockey fan. I grew up in Florida, and hockey here. I realize we're the center of the hockey universe now, the state of Florida. Sorry, Canada, but we didn't used to be that when I was a kid. And so I know very little overall about hockey from a growing up perspective. So I just choose as an adult, and I'm choosing both. There you go. Bada bing, bada boom. Also, we got into our college allegiances as well. So now we'll ask you, is there ever a time you can change allegiances? 888-SAY-ESPN. Let's start with Diego in Memphis. Diego, thanks for the call. Go ahead.
Hey, guys. Yeah, I just wanted to say, tell that to my friend Garrett. He's an Ole Miss alumni. He was a lifelong Giants fan, and then he moved to Cincinnati. Started claiming Bengals for a little bit.
We'll take him.
And then Jackson Dart gets drafted, and now he wants to switch back to the Giants and claim them. So.
Oh, right, because the Ole Miss connections. Now all of a sudden he's back on the Giants. No, once you leave, if you're leaving, and if you haven't been straddling the fence the whole time, you can't go back, Andre.
Yeah, that's hard. And plus, the Bengals and the Giants, there's no rivalry there.
No,
you know, like there's no reason he couldn't pull for both. And I'm a big Bengals fan. Who dey? We need all the fans we can get. So tell him to come back.
Josh is calling us from Los Angeles. Josh, thanks for the call. Is there ever a time you can change allegiances?
Absolutely not. So, Amber, I went to UF as well. I'm a couple years older. Zaslo's friends with a bunch of my friends. He's a fraud. I love Miami. I love my alma mater. I love that I went to Florida. It was the best 4 years of my life. I go back and teach a class once in a while. But I will tell you what, I do not root for the Gators. I am Hurricane all the way. So Zaslo's a fraud. You can't do that. I grew up in Miami, been going to games since I was 2 years old. Diehard can, but I'll never root for the Gators.
Really? Never? So you don't, but are we just talking football, or are we talking any sport?
football, basketball, whatever it is, baseball. I mean, those are the three sports I sort of follow. I can't root for them. I mean, I was happy the Gators won. Like, my friends were, I was happy for them. But I'm a Hurricane. I live, eat, and breathe the Miami Hurricanes. My son is a diehard Cane. I could never give that up. I used to fly home for games. And I remember really quickly, when Edger and James ran for like 300 yards, I was in Jennings' dorm, running up and down the hallway that Miami beat, like, UCLA, writing Go UM on all over. So you can never give up your
I'm sure that wasn't obnoxious at all in Jennings. Thanks, Josh, for the call. You're a real one, though, unlike Jonathan Taslow. 888-SAY-ESPN. Adam is calling us from Alaska. Adam, thanks for the call. Can you ever change allegiances?
Amber, you're dead on here. You can do that. I think there has to be a geographic exemption. I grew up in Texas. If you've got a team from your state that doesn't make it and there's another team that does, I feel like you should be able to root for a team from your state. I also feel like this kind of applies to college sports as well. I graduated from TCU. I love TCU, but if TCU gets knocked out, Baylor goes somewhere, I'm going to root for Baylor because I'm a Texas guy.
There you go. Just claim the whole state of Texas. I like that. See, Andre, I like that strategy. We should implement that strategy more often.
Absolutely. You always have somebody to pull for.
Yeah, especially if you're in a state like that with multiple teams, right? Then you're setting yourself up for some semblance of success. Cam is calling us from North Carolina. Cam, can you ever switch allegiances? Thanks for the call.
I got to say, yes. Yes, I can and did. But, man, you have got to keep skin in the game. You cannot just, whenever you feel like it,